Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome again to my page, my platform that I'm so happy to be sharing with my colleague, my friend, Lakeisha Duncan. And last week we started a very exciting topic. I think one that got people talking, people thinking. And today we're going to continue that discussion. So, if this is the first time you are joining us, my name is Dana Hayes-Burke. I am very often called the vision builder because I work as a vision strategist and a business strategist to support small businesses in creating strategic frameworks to make their vision a reality. And with me, I have the amazing Lakeisha Duncan. Lakeisha, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. I am Leekeesha Duncan, often called the playback training coach. I support organizations in designing effective training programs so that we can create those synergies of skills and knowledge that best suits your organization and help us, you know, create productivity within those organizations. And today I'll be with Dana discussing leadership and team building and how do we use those within our organizations, to engender growth and development. Dana?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, how did we get to the space of leadership? For those of you who haven't seen it, there is a replay on this page where we started talking about the Great Resignation, a trend that is happening across the globe, and the Caribbean is not exempt to, where your best talent is opting for a life of happiness and fulfillment rather than your paycheck. And now we have a situation where as organizations, you are losing the best talent that will take you into the future. And if you recall, on the last occasion, we ended with the idea or the thought that this is, of course, very much linked to a leadership issue. So
Mhm.
today we are talking about leadership because that is the way to keep your best talents.
Sure.
Ultimately, leadership, if your leadership, the reason that most people leave organizations or are disgruntled with organizations is what, Lakeisha?
Because my supervisor, I just don't like my supervisor. Or my leader is, oh, I can't say those words. You know, he's bossy, he's autocratic, he doesn't listen, she doesn't care about me or my family. Who wants a leader like that?
Exactly. And on top of all of that, we're in a pandemic. So you could well imagine I'm going to choose my life and stress free living than this. So does it mean that it is all doom and gloom for us? I don't think so. What
No.
do you think?
I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think we just need to shift our management, our leadership perspective, shift from management to leadership. And Dana, we discussed the difference between management and leadership last day.
Yeah.
Management is a focus on task, but leadership is a focus on or the balance between task and people. And
Yeah.
we're here to discuss, what is that type of leadership that will help you retain your best talent? And
Yeah.
Dana, I'll throw that question at you. What type of leadership would really help you retain the best talent within your organization?
I think that when you think about, for me, when I think about a leader, the first thing that I find that we are often lacking is leadership by example, and that's called modeling, right? Um, I remember in my corporate days that you would get an instruction, you would get a requirement, you are told that you must be, do, and exist in this framework. And the greatest pet peeve, I think, for me as a young professional was when I look at you, you're not doing it. Your hand is not to the plow. You are not joining in the task. You are not committed to the overarching vision. And for me, the best experiences that I would have had with superiors were the ones who put their hands to the plow and became a part of the team to ensure that we succeeded overall. And we don't usually find that in a lot of organizations because the goal for many is I want to be the boss. And my understanding of being the boss is I tell you what to do and I don't do it.
So I hear you talking about shared leadership there. A leader invites the team to share that leadership position with him or her. And while you talk about those leaders who just want to be the boss. They just want to be the boss, but when we win as a team, they take all the credit. There's no shared
Yes.
recognition. There's no shared recognition that we all contributed to this win and that as a team we carried this win. So that is also a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Um,
Because here's the thing, right? I learned this, and I think I learned it more when I launched my own business than I experienced it, than having experienced it fully in my corporate job. Because when I left, I was a manager. So I had gone through this organization. But one of the things that I learned when I had my managerial role is that success is built in community.
mhm.
So if I succeed, if you succeed, we all succeed. And if you are in a space where you don't have that shared leadership, you don't have that shared sense of responsibility, it doesn't allow you to have buy in to anything. So, a lot of you all who are bosses and looking on at us, I want you to ask yourself the question, right? Have I really been fostering buy in for my team, for my staff? Have I really been fostering that? Think about yourself and ask yourself, right? Now, you all might be like, this girl is touching on toes. But ask yourself, if you were a junior to the leadership that you are exhibiting right now, would you be a happy employee? And if you're watching the replay, you might want to type ouch because you might realize that you became the boss you didn't like.
And maybe because the model they saw was just like that. I mean, and we're here to unravel and undo some of those models that just don't work and won't work moving forward in the not in the 21st century anymore, but in the fourth industrial revolution. Some of
Yes.
what we experienced in the past, that the top-down approach, control and command, just won't
Mhm.
work in these times. We have, millennials and Gen Zs who really don't appreciate that approach. You know, walk with me, take me with you, share the responsibility. And I want to say, Dana, when we share that responsibility and share that leadership responsibility, that's one way in which we create a team. And,
Yes.
we talked about buying. Once we buy in, the team is created. And once we win together, we create productive incentives. When a team wins together, those productive incentives keep motivating the team over and over to continue winning. There's a
Yes.
continuous winning culture that is developed when we share the responsibility. And that
That's
brings me to the question, you know, as leaders, what culture do we want to cultivate or create within our organizations? What do you think?
I think that the culture you want to cultivate is one of shared excellence, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's how I see it. It's shared excellence. We are a team of excellent people going forward to give excellent customer service and value. And that excellence is actually, as an organization, going to help you to have greater market share, greater reputational value. Because the truth is, reputational value is literally the most valuable currency of business in this time.
Agreed.
There's a reason that Amazon and um,
Well,
Google, all of them are putting a lot
Apple.
of effort. Apple, this guy, Elon Musk, Tesla. There's a reason that they put so much energy, so much of their financial resources into building an external reputation that has nothing to do with their core business. So they want to be known as environmentally conscious. They want to be known as strong advocates for social issues. They want to be known as trying to be leading the way in terms of energy and saving the planet. There are a lot of things that they want to be known as, and that is the ripple effect. How can they do all of that? They can do all of that because internally in their company, they are ensuring that the team is strong, the team is happy, there is a shared sense of excellence and commitment and buy in that then ripples into the external environment. So, what I remember when I was working at my last job, you want to have charity. And I could tell you the big thing that most of the staff would say is, you don't care about me, so why should I be committing to do something externally to make you feel better?
And that brings me to the point. Your employees are your first customers. And if
Yeah.
as leader and as leadership, we can't treat our employees with that kind of respect and really motivate them, then how are we going to motivate our external customers?
Right. And that now, if we're talking about shared excellence and we're talking about our first, our employees being our first customers, and we're now at this place, what is the issue that is preventing our leaders from making this shift? And I asked a question in a poll, like, what is the must have attributes for a leader in the 21st century? And I did a poll on the page, and the number one thing people were saying is emotional intelligence.
Agreed.
And the thing about emotional intelligence, I think that fundamentally, if we were to get to the core of why our managers, our bosses are not able to make the transition in leadership culture, is because something is missing in the space of emotional intelligence. So you tell me, Lakeisha, in your opinion, first of all, let us clarify what emotional intelligence is for the people, because I feel like it's one of those statements we use very loosely, but we're not too sure what it entails. And then talk about emotional intelligence and helping us to change the culture of leadership.
For me, emotional intelligence is being able to understand the emotions of others as well as your emotions and create that compromise, that
Yeah.
win-win situation for both you and the other person. It also involves, you actively listening, and there is uh a kind of response that demonstrates that you are actually listening. Sometimes you speak to your leaders and they don't listen. And their responses demonstrate to you that they don't. So there's supposed to be an active listening, and active listening involves both body language and verbal. Ask you right questions. Look me in the eye.
Yes.
Lean forward. Give me the attention. So for me, it also involves some level of empathy as well. Many times leaders are not concerned about what's going on at home, or how the pandemic would have affected you, or if you're at home and you have a small working space. Because come on, in Trinidad or in the region, how many employers ensured that their employees had a ready working space? When
Ah,
we come to work face to face, we do. We have a cubicle, we have a desk, we have access to simple things, hygiene products, all these things. At home, if we do not have those things, and don't talk about internet, to me that was something that was such an oversight for many. You're
yes.
asked to work from home. Are you aware of my internet connectivity? Is it a broadwidth? Is it fast speed? Is it able, what? No one provided these things. So
Yes.
empathy, but yet they want me to deliver and deliver more.
Well,
And
and all the time.
in the COVID situation, in this pandemic, lots of employers didn't consider that we are working at home. We have children. Um, children will come into your workspace. Many were not empathetic. I want it, and I want it now.
Exactly, and that is a problem, and the thing about it, you are talking about like working from home and not even considering what are the structural the infrastructure you have or don't have in your home. But I would even go to say, at the office, I've gone into companies where they don't even care if your desk is ergonomic. You have to go and do a full medical in order to find out if you have to get a better seating arrangement. So even those simple things, and I understand, right? When you're a boss, it's a management of resources. But I always say this: if you understand how to treat the most valuable resource, which is a human resource, the right way, then the human resource is going to give you the money returns that you're looking for in your business.
Yeah, it's cyclical.
That is your most valuable resource. You can have the fastest computer, but if you have nobody to type on it to do anything, it doesn't work. Right? So when you talk about emotional intelligence and you talked about the balancing of understanding your team's emotion, your team members' emotions, as well as yours. For me, when I think about emotional intelligence, I think that the biggest factor is understanding yourself, because I think that a lot of the times, and you can correct me if I'm seeing only one perspective, but I feel that a lot of the times the issues we have with management, and their inability to transition into leadership stems a lot from your own undiscovered insecurities.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I mean in the literature it says one of the greatest leader is one who understands himself.
Yeah. You have to have an ability to self regulate. You have to have an ability to understand your own triggers. You have to have an ability to manage your own responses and your own emotions, particularly those emotions that are impulsive. And the impulsive emotions are anger, lust, rage. Those are the emotions that you have very little cognitive ability if you allow it to go on, right? So I think that for us, we really do need in the Caribbean to understand that I need to understand me. I need to recognize that what Lakeisha is doing is not that she's sabotaging me. There is something going on in me that is making me feel sabotaged. If I figure that out, then I'm able to look at her with different eyes and be empathetic.
I agree. It starts with me, and it also, extends to the other person, because then I have to realize where he or she is coming from. And
Yeah,
I
not
also
trying
find
to sabotage you.
yeah, and that's important. And I agree. We see in our own context that many leaders feel threatened. They feel, the simplest thing, the simplest error that occurs, it's an attack on them, or it's
Yeah.
the aim is to undermine them, and that's not so. We fail to consider all that is going on with our employees. And
So
I
the
have a
question
question.
now is, go ahead. Yes, you go ahead.
What are those qualities that make, you talk about emotional intelligence? What else will help those leaders become effective leaders within their organization and develop those teams, those agile, effective, and productive teams?
Firstly, open communication. Understanding that effective communication is a two-way street, which means that I send the message is received, and then the persons who receive the message should have that ability to respond
Right.
to me, provide feedback, let me know what's going on, and if we can improve the communication process, then we are going to be able to actually deal with a lot of disagreements, remove uncertainty as it relates to what is the targets, remove uncertainty as it relates to what are the limitations, and generally be more productive. So I can
Agreed.
see a leader must be a good communicator, not a good talk to people person, but a good communicator.
True. Communicating, and all these facets of communication. Consider the noise.
Yes.
There's psychological noise, there's the physical noise. What
Yes.
are the possible obstacles as well? Because when we communicate, we often communicate and expect, okay, the message will reach home and reach home
Exactly.
without interference. But we also have to consider, and that's when we talk about empathy and being emotionally intelligent. What are some of the factors that may, hinder the effective or the accurate receipt of that message?
Yes. And I think even with regards to communicating, a key part of communication is also you as a leader need to have a good vision.
Good.
Now, we tend to have organizational visions. What doesn't happen is that that does not translate into individual vision of what I need to accomplish. Because if I have to communicate with you, I have to be clear on what is the destination I'm taking you to. Now, for me, in every leadership role that I've ever held, and I've held a few, right? I have this one principle that guides me. I can't lead folks to where I've never been.
True.
So there's a big part in vision, but then vision is now connected with mentorship and coaching and modeling, right?
Hmm.
So I need to know where I'm taking you. I may also need to, by having a good vision, that is my way of mapping out where we're going. And if I've been there before in terms of certain skills and competencies, I should be willing to mentor my junior staff, to coach and instruct them so that they can get there with less hiccups, less pitfalls, and the whole process is more streamlined.
There's a saying, a good leader replicates himself.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. You
And
should
that
be
brings,
replicating
sorry.
yourself.
Yeah, and that brings me also to the team building aspect of it. So when you have that vision, that overall organizational vision, how does it tie into the personal or individual vision of your team members? You
Hmm.
must find a way to connect your organizational vision to that of the individual vision so that we create that buy-in that we want. We create that synergy that is needed for moving the company from point A to point B and achieving that vision. So, what
Yeah.
are your employees' personal vision, their personal goals, and how do those align to your organizational goals? How can we create a win-win for both the organization and the employees? So, it's never clear cut. It's just that middle ground or that balance, and how we navigate those two extremes to bring us to that place where we want to be.
Yes, definitely. And it's really that, and it doesn't happen overnight. I think
No,
that we are all, the reason that we have the leadership challenges that we have is the instantaneous mindset.
good.
I want it now. It has to happen now. I would like to change the leadership that is going on in my organization. I want to change the leadership culture, but I need it to take place right this second. Understand that this culture that exists in our region has been like that for a long time.
Centuries.
So we now have to take action and embed into the long term vision of our companies a shift in our leadership culture.
And I want to
And that's
piggyback on that. We can grow leadership. These
mm,
skills can be learned and they can be grown and developed over time. So it's not a hopeless situation. And if we wish to stop this phenomenon of mass resignation, we need to get a hold on our leadership and develop those cultures, or the culture that is necessary for retaining our best talent. Our best talent really wants to be a part of it.
yeah, they want to be in the organization. They want opportunities for growth and advancement. What they're not willing to do is subject themselves to what previous generations of employees were willing to do. And as you said, in this fourth wave of the industrial revolution that's going on, they will leave you and go start their own businesses just like that. And even things like that, Lakeisha, just the idea that long ago, well, not that long ago, I mean, while I was still working, you couldn't let your boss know that you were planning to have your own business while working.
No. Are
And
you
and
kidding?
we still have that mindset. Why is it wrong for, isn't it a good thing to me that they are willing to build something apart? So at least if they're not looking for a raise to get extra income, they're building the extra income, right?
We see it as competition rather than we having contributed to the development of that person, you know?
Because the other outcome is, as you rightly said, nobody's asking you about your childcare. Nobody's asking you about you being able to upkeep your life. Nobody's asking you about, for instance, like us, where we have children who are doing a lot of extracurricular. Nobody's asking about those things. So they are not thinking about, why would you want extra income? So you have options. You can be like Google and put a daycare in your in your organization, create a complex, but most organizations don't have that capacity. So we now should be encouraging the vision of our best talent, because in encouraging the vision, you keep your best talent.
You do. You really, really stir and spur up loyalty and commitment to your organization.
Yeah, because I think that what we fail to give enough value to is the idea that people will forget what you say to them, but they'll never forget the way you
Oh,
make them
sure.
feel.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I am building something and I tell my boss I'm building this thing, and the boss is encouraging me to do it, what is going to happen is I'm going to feel very badly about leaving the company. I'm going to
Yeah,
stay in the company and keep my business because this boss was so good to me.
true.
And we're not understanding those shifts. So what can we What would you suggest um, executives, managers who want to now integrate this into their companies, but they're not sure how? What can we suggest to them as a starting point?
I think we need to suggest to them to develop a culture, a shared culture. The shared excellence, the culture of shared excellence, as we spoke about.
Yes.
Allow your employees to share in the leadership process. And as we spoke about knowing yourself means you understand your strengths, you understand your weaknesses, and where you may be weak as a leader, there is a member on your team who will show up strong in that area. So
Yes.
my thing is, how do you allow that person to lead in that area? You share the leadership responsibility, and when
Yes.
you share the responsibility, you also share the wins. And the team then, the team members are then motivated by those wins. I would have led something, a win. I would have led us to this point as part of the team. And that really creates job satisfaction. It really creates a sense of loyalty. It creates a sense of commitment. It creates a sense, that I am part of something big, bigger than me.
Yes.
And we must allow our employees to lead in those ways. But oftentimes, when leaders see a talented person, especially in your area of weakness, we do all in our power to ensure that that is not displayed and that
Yeah.
is not used. And we shoot ourselves in the leg, because when we don't use that strength and we don't possess that strength, then how are we winning? How are we moving
Are we
forward?
winning?
To
Are
me,
we
that's
winning?
insanity.
No, what we are doing is staying, and as we say in Trinidad, you're spinning top in mud. So you're
Yeah.
just moving, but you're not going anywhere, right? You're just a lot of activity and you're not going anywhere. So I want you all to know, those of you who are looking on live and those who might be looking at the replay, if you are still uncertain as to what to do, this is an area where Lakeisha and I can assist you with. If you, one of the things that you need, I think, is also training,
Mhm.
because you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know. So this might be a moment where you recognize that you don't know. You may recognize that there is need for some shifts in the competencies of your managers and of your supervisors. And you may want to start small. You may want to start small with providing training and in providing enlightenment. That is something that we can definitely assist you with if you are looking for, even if you're looking for a consultation to kind of ascertain, because sometimes you just don't know really where are we. Like, I don't know if we are coming or going. Like, do we have an emotional intelligence issue? Do we have a communication issue? We don't know. Then um, you can definitely send either Lakeisha or myself a message or a DM, and we'll be happy to set up a free chat with you to find out what your thoughts are, what you are trying to achieve in your business, and we can create or curate a program or a training process for you that you can incorporate into your business as early as 2022. If you want it right now, we can make it happen too. But I know that strategically, if you want to start making the shift, we can begin to change that for you. Lakeisha, do you have any closing words?
Not at this time. I just want to encourage us as leaders, to make that shift and to really examine yourself. How is your leadership motivating your staff? How is your leadership creating that buy-in? Is it or is it not? And I
Um,
want you to be honest with yourself, and the signs that there is no buy-in. Some of the signs are employees leave every 2 weeks, or employees just don't contribute,
or
or
sick leave.
or sleep, or those are sure signs that you are not really doing it well.
Yeah.
And it's okay to admit that we may not be doing it well and to seek help. So those are the signs. They leave ever so often, they don't come to work, they don't contribute, you know and sometimes they work on your time or work on company's time. So
Yeah, they're involved in other things during that time. It's for you to track if they're working from home or not. if you ask them to stay back, overtime does not motivate them. They rather take their time than take your money. So those are really important signals that those are really what people call symptoms of a disease called poor leadership.
And don't forget, even if
Yeah.
your
So
your
thank you
best
again,
talent is
everybody.
quiet,
And
it's another sign is when your best talent becomes silent.
hey,
That
that is
I
it
think
right
is the
there. Silence
most
is
telling
deadly.
symptom.
Silence is deadly. Yes, for sure. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We will continue again next week, Thursday. And in next week's Thursday episode, we are going to be talking a bit about the hybrid working environment and how to now be that leader in such an environment. Because I know some of you are going to say, but they're not with me. How am I doing this when we're in a hybrid work environment? So we're going to be touching on that next week. And thank you so much for joining. Please remember to comment below. Please remember to share this with others, share this with your colleagues, with your bosses. We need to have these sorts of discourses so that we can start making shifts. This episode was titled "Do It for the Caribbean Culture," and it really is about changing the narrative of leadership within our region. So that is the only way that we can really become more impactful as businesses, and really make a difference on the world stage. So thank you so much for being here with us, and have a good one.
Be safe, guys.
Bye.
Bye.